And we're live. This is the Honest Hour. I'm your host, Luis Acevedo, the founder of MOT Media and a co host of MOT Today, which is a weekly podcast where we go live on all platforms at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I'm here every day, Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A little bit early today, but we have a really, really good show for you. To start things off, I went to this event today. It was in regards to Web3, DAOs, NFTs, the crypto space. You do think the Pope is in charge? No. Okay, so we got a question here right off the bat. Thank you for the question, Mind Blown Photography. No, I do not think that the Pope is in charge of NATO. Yeah, not at all. Anyway, so getting to what I was saying, I went to this event today for Web3, DAO, NFTs. Really good event. Met a lot of good people who are in the crypto space, which is cool. It's really hard to find people like that in real life. Anyway, during the discussion, something sort of crystallized during some of the presentation, something crystallized for me. In particular, cryptocurrencies and the future of currency. And so let me lay the groundwork before I get into what actually crystallized for me. For a while now, everybody has been aware of the fact that we basically vote with our dollar, right? And we have heard from Klaus Schwab's that we will be entering a new type of economic system, a shareholder economy. So everybody is participating because they are a shareholder. They own a piece of the economy. So it's a different system. And with digital assets, it brings everybody closer to that shareholder economy in which the global elite would want the world to be in. There's good and bad things to this. But continuing, the shareholder economy is what they want the future to be. And in regards to DAOs, they are decentralized autonomous organizations. So there is no leader, there is a collective. Based on the amount of coins you own in that DAO, your vote is strengthened or lessened than somebody else's. The more coins you have for that DAO, the more voting power you have. So they are making it so your dollar is a legitimate vote. That is the goal. And so cryptocurrencies in a way and DAOs in a way bring us closer to what the globalist would like us to be in the shareholder economy. This isn't to say we shouldn't embrace cryptocurrencies. As a matter of fact, I am a very big proponent and supporter and investor in cryptocurrencies. I think they are the way forward. I think they offer a lot of options to circumvent what is to come. But that was an idea that sort of crystallized as I was there listening to these presentations on DAOs. And I thought I'd share it with you guys. But that is not going to be the main topic for today. There's a lot to cover, guys. There's a lot to cover. So diving into the mass shooting a little bit that happened yesterday, more information has come out regarding it. So obviously more people have died, allegedly. I say allegedly just because I don't know really what's going on. I do think that there are people that died, so I'm not denying that. But it's very, very interesting, the story and how it's evolving. So as I went over yesterday, it appears that the shooter was transgender. He liked to cross-dress. So obvious signs of mental illness definitely played a role. Allegedly, he was bullied, and that led him to do some of this. In addition to that, there have been other things that have come out. I may have mentioned yesterday that has already been covered as false. I don't know what you're talking about. I have literal footage, like pictures of him dressing up as a woman. Okay, yeah, there's literal pictures of him dressed up as a woman. And yeah, so I don't know what you're talking about. There's actual pictures, side by side pictures. It's very, very obvious. All right, we'll let the person who wants to disagree with me come in. Might be for interesting conversation. Let's see here.
Yeah.
How's it going?
A senator tweeted out about that and then had to repeal it because it was found out that the person's name and the pictures that they were using were 100% incorrect, and he issued a retraction. You're a day late on this story.
Yeah, so I actually discovered this the same day that it happened, and there were a bunch of side by side images of the photo.
The same person.
Okay.
You're naming the wrong person. They don't live in Texas. The person from the photos that were discussed on Reddit and 4chan is not the same person.
Okay.
That's the fucking point. Like, what you're saying is 100% false and is dangerous. You're repeating incel shit from 4chan. That's absolutely
all right. So thank you for correcting me. No need to swear on my show. I allowed you to come on the show. Thank you for providing me with some information I didn't know. I can't know everything. I'm not claiming to know everything. So no need. So hang on. This is my show. This is my show. So when you come on here, be respectful. Don't be a dick. All right? I'm showing you respect. I'm not being rude to you. I'm not being combative to you. So I appreciate you telling me something I didn't know. So there's no need to come on here and attack me. All right? Not everybody can know everything. And so obviously something was missed on my part. So thank you. I will do more research into that. So
my question is, why would you go out and start broadcasting your show with stuff you haven't done enough research on?
Did I not just answer your question? Did I not just answer that question? Not everybody is going to be able, especially me. I have a busy life, my man. And so I do my research for the show. And guess what? News changes consistently. There's a bunch of things I'm covering today. So thank you. Thank you. There's a bunch of other more important stuff that I have to cover, but thank you very much for telling me that. So no need to be a dick on the show. I allowed you airtime on here. So thank you.
Claiming it's a show and then having done no research literally would lead you to be liable. If you're generating income off of this, you would be reporting something that is factually untrue.
And
that has the risk of
and so why are you wanting to be so combative? Why are you wanting to be so combative when I just told you were right? I think you want to come on the show and argue with me, and I'm telling you, hey, you're right. Thank you very much. I'm showing you respect. And so
how dangerous it is what you're doing, going out and speaking about something that you're not informed about.
I actually am informed about this particular situation. There was a topic in which I was not informed properly on. So I've already admitted my mistake. I've already admitted it. But I can tell you there's a bunch of other information regarding this story. And so obviously one thing that is not incorrect in what I said was, A, the guy's mentally ill. Big thing. Regardless if he's transgender or not. If that's fake news, cool. I have no issue admitting when we're wrong. That's one of the biggest things here on MOT Media. We do not lie. We will admit when we're wrong. I will try to give you the best information possible, and I will never lie to you. If information comes out that proves that what we're saying is incorrect, I will be the first one to admit it. Name one media show that will do that. You're hard pressed to find it. And I'm here telling you, you corrected me on my own show. I allow you to come here on my own show. And I'm saying you're right. So no need to be a dick about it. So first things first, he is mentally ill. That's not debatable. That is not dangerous to say. Any sane person would not do what he apparently did. Am I wrong in saying that?
No.
Okay, cool. So there's some issues there. There's another thing that maybe you know something I don't know. And the other thing is there appears to be a link between him and the Buffalo shooter. They were both in the same Discord chat. And there was one particular person, I believe his name is Armand, and he appears to be the groomer of both of these shooters. 13 days before the shooting in Texas, he had wrote in the Telegram chat, not Discord. They had a Telegram and Discord, but in the Telegram chat that is now being removed, that 13 days until Texas. And then 13 days later, we have the shooting that we're discussing right now. So there appears to be a connection between the Buffalo shooter, who there is some interesting photos going on about that guy as well. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe people will come out and say that they're false. I don't know necessarily that the photos of the guy who did the shooting in Texas is false. I'll have to do some research on that. But as of right now, I'm taking your word for it. But there's some interesting backstories to the Buffalo shooter as well. So anyway, there appears to be a connection between the two shooters in that they shared similar groups and they appear to have a groomer. That's the allegations that are circulating right now. But it's very important to say this. We are very early in all of this that's going on. And this is why yesterday, which is why I'm getting a little bit heated, because you did not obviously watch the show yesterday. Yesterday, I made the very obvious statement that we need to wait for more information to come out. So I was recapping some of the stuff that I covered yesterday. And so obviously new information came out and you shared that information with me. But I've been telling people, before you make assumptions as to what's going on, understand that we need a minimum 3 days for the proper narrative to be built. 3 days is typically what it takes in the media.
Understand that if you're going to call yourself news, that you have a journalistic requirement to be able to back up the claims that you're making.
I have provided,
but obviously not well enough, because the first thing that I scrolled past and heard was you being 100% correct in identifying who the shooter is.
And 100% correct that he was mentally ill. 100% correct. And I can't say 100% correct because these are allegations. So we don't know much that's going on. But one of the allegations is that there's a connection between him and the Buffalo shooter. Did you know that? Have you done any deep research into that? Most people are unaware of this potential connection. Nobody's saying that it's factual that there's a connection there.
So why would you report it if it's not?
Because it is important for people to understand how the story is developing. This is part of what we do here. I'm letting you know what the potential is. I'm not saying that it's factual.
You can become a source of disinformation by publishing stuff early.
No, I can become a source where people can get pieces of information.
But that might not be true.
But they might be true. And so the thing is,
success doing that, just walking around saying random shit. What I might say might be true. You're not news if what you're saying is not true.
Then you can't call CNN news. You can't call Fox News news. You have to understand that we...
Fox News agrees that you can't call Fox News news. In court, they have said that no reasonable person should believe this. The difference is that CNN made a mistake and actually had to pay out when they made the mistakes. CNN is news, as they try to do. There are some shows on
Dude,
CNN
that's nonsense. That's nonsense. If you're really gonna tell me that CNN is news and Fox News is not news, then you're obviously caught in this paradigm of nonsense. It's 100% paradigm of nonsense. It doesn't matter what it doesn't matter So you have to understand that there's a lot of manipulation in the media. And so what we're trying to do here, what we are trying to do here at MOT Media is provide a place where we will not intentionally lie to you or provide you misinformation. We will tell you information as it is coming out. And then in a particular instance, as this one, the school shooting, we will tell you, hey, this is still a developing story. This is still a developing story. Did you know?
Watch it on Reddit and quit calling yourself news.
Nobody's watching it on Reddit, my man. Nobody's watching it on Reddit.
No one's watching what on Reddit? They're literally channels devoted to trying to search for more information.
Yeah,
about the shooter.
yeah, and that is not where we're finding our information. That is not where.
That's great, but the difference is that you literally are no better. Is my point. You're not media. You're not news. You're literally going places, looking for stuff, and then reporting anything that you find because you can't
incorrect. You've never watched the show before, so thank you very much for coming on. And just know, we are not here to lie to you. We are here to report on what's going on. And guess what? We may get some things wrong. You may get some things wrong. That happens. And nobody's turning speculations into facts. That is not the case. And as far as interrupting, nobody's interrupting. I mean, he could speak as he wanted to speak, but when he's coming on the show being rude, that's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. And so here, what you have to understand, another thing that we try to do here at MOT Media that a lot of places will not do is work through ideas, work through what the hell is going on. You will not find that anywhere. And he already admitted, you won't find a media source that will take corrections. You will not find a media source that will take corrections. If what he's saying regarding the transgender issue is true, cool. We're wrong. We're wrong. No, there is no need for confirmation bias here. We want the truth. And so everybody here that is complaining about what just happened earlier in the show, I have no issue admitting when he is wrong. He's not being rude. He's saying it's not news without facts to back it up. Okay, once again, we're reporting on what is taking place. I laid out some facts regarding the mass shooting. The rest is speculative. Nobody really knows what's going on, right? Nobody really knows what's going on. We know there were 19, maybe 20 kids that died, something along those lines, right? A couple teachers. We know that. There's rumors that you're commentating, not reporting news. On this particular issue, yes. Nobody once said I was covering factual news on this particular issue. On this particular issue, shooter was a cross-dresser. See, people in here seem to think that he was a cross-dresser. Don't know if that's the case. One person says that he wasn't, that it has been removed, that it is no longer the case. You don't even know how many people died. Yeah, because the numbers keep changing. So yesterday it was 14. When I last checked, it was 19. So anyway, it's true we saw the pictures. I was making this point earlier, but apparently that is not true. Apparently that is fake news from one of the viewers. The pictures I saw look pretty convincing, but I don't know. That's the point of what we're saying. So, yeah, on this particular issue, it is speculative. It is. Don't really know what's going on. What are your standards before reporting on something? On this particular issue, as I stated yesterday on the show, and then we're dropping this because we have much more important things to talk about. Video and fighting of him school. If you don't know, just so you don't know. I've already admitted that there's some things that we don't know about this particular issue. Oh, literally everything you report. No. So on this particular issue, I've already talked about the fact that this is a developing thing. So as far as the standard of reporting, if I'm seeing multiple people say something and then I can verify it as well, then I will bring it up as a possibility, not as if it is true. We talk about theories on this show as well, potential outcomes, potential reasons as to why things happened. So sorry that this is your unorthodox news show, because we talk about theories as well. We talk about the possibility of things that take place. So there definitely is an opinion segment on the show. So moving on from this topic, because there's a lot that is developing. And so we'll keep paying attention to it. We'll see exactly what happens with it. Definitely going to be a push. Going to be a narrative used to push back against the Second Amendment. I've heard you are a tool for money oligarchs. Okay, moving on, because I can't win this one. No, I'm not. Like, there's no need to continue this. This is a perfect example of why people need to take a basic journalism class. You guys do know that I wrote, I was a journalist in school. Like, this is anyway. So once again, I'm reiterating that part of the segment was opinionated, speculative, theorizing as to what was happening. This is like what normal people do. Let's talk election fraud and Dems. I'm not very interested in that. A lot of journalists in school, great. Yeah. So as far as election fraud goes, not very interested in that. There's been multiple election fraud, especially when it comes to the whole Trump thing, because Trump was supporting the Republicans were reporting the same voting machines that they were demonizing the Democrats for using. So there's just a lot of issues when it comes to election. No one respects you. You are so desperate for a gram of respect. You can't get it. Don't effing call yourself a journalist. Never called myself a journalist. I said in school I did journalism. That was a big focus. Wrote for our yearbook, wrote for our paper, took quite a few classes in it. So are you going to announce before? Hey, once again, I've talked about this yesterday, and we're done after this. I talked about this yesterday, that this is all speculative. Yesterday's show, you can go back and listen to it. Minds of Tomorrow on Apple, Spotify, or MOT Media on YouTube. I literally say, hey, and I told you while you were on the show, give it 3 days for the narrative to build. It's only been 2 days. All right? So, and high school, no. All right. So, we will move on from here. So we'll keep you guys updated as to what's going on with the shooting. So widespread information that might not be true. Once again, do you not comprehend what theorizing is, what speculation is? These are all things that most people don't do these days because they're afraid of people coming at them like this, for having an idea, for them expressing something. It's insane. All right. So let's move on. So the first thing that I want to cover today, this is pretty interesting. It's one of the first main topics we want to cover for the show today has to do with this. So in Canada, they are allowing, okay, you obviously are not aware of the show. I've already told you the show. And anyway, so then just leave here. How many boosters you get? I got all the boosters. I'm very pro vaccine. not anti-vaccine either. I mean, if you want to get vaccinated, do your thing. Anyway, so this is going to be the next point of discussion for the show right here. So for those of you on TikTok that can't see this, it says, why is Canada euthanizing the poor? So I'll go ahead and read a little bit of the article and then we'll jump into this. There's an endless repeated witticism by the poet. Let's skip all this beginning. So right here, let's go to the second paragraph. It says, since last year, Canadian law in all its majesty has allowed both rich as well as the poor to kill themselves if they are too poor to continue living with dignity. In fact, the ever generous Canadian state will even pay for their deaths. What it will not do is spend money to allow them to live instead of killing themselves. As with most slippery slopes, it began with a strongly worded denial that exists. In 2015, the Supreme Court of Canada reversed 22 years of its own jurisprudence by striking down the country's ban on assisted suicides as unconstitutional. And so obviously that law has changed, and now they are allowing assisted suicides. So the reason I wanted to cover this today is because a lot of people who are in conspiracy theorist communities, truther communities, that kind of community, are constantly talking about depopulation, are constantly warning about how the global elite want to depopulate the world and what they're going to do to lower the population. You go to the Georgia Guidestones, you see that somebody wrote on there that they want the population to be 500 million. It would be sustainable for the earth, so they say. But the reason I want to cover this today is to share my thoughts on that as far as depopulation goes. I don't think there's anything to really be concerned about as far as anybody coming and doing anything physical to you. I don't think that that's an issue. I think when it comes to depopulation, it is definitely happening. If we just look at the birth rates, first off, right? A lot of people aren't having children. And that's a huge issue. That's a huge issue, especially in the United States. And, we need more children. We actually have a population deficiency. We are not overpopulated. That is a myth. But anyway, the fact that depopulation exists, well, let me back up a little bit. So depopulation does exist. And the main issue here is people choosing to do it to themselves. And the way that this actually works, it's only a huge issue if we demand constant growth. Japan seems okay for right now. But what happens when you have no more young people to take care of the older people? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, you obviously need more people to be born in order to have a society. Don't have kids, guys. No, definitely have kids. Have a bunch of kids. Have big families. Make families big again. That is where strength is. Strength lies in numbers, and family is wealth. Family makes you very wealthy, very resourceful if you have a lot of kids. It's a very beautiful thing. Very beautiful thing. I encourage everybody to have children. You don't need to have more people. You only need replacements. Exactly. So then where do you get the replacements, especially if your immigration population is not reproducing either, which is also happening? Money makes you wealthy. Depends on what you mean. Because money can make you materially wealthy, but you can be very wealthy and be cash poor if you have a very resourceful family. There are trailer parks full of kids and people. Dudes high at, okay. Yeah, so children are a very beautiful thing. And big families are where it's at. That's where numbers lie. And I mean, why do you not? I mean, that's the whole purpose of life, is to procreate at the most fundamental level. The most fundamental level is to procreate. Sure, but you have to pay for them. You don't need money to live. It says who for what? Life is at its most fundamental core about procreation. 100%. 100%. Life wants to keep on living. That's very basic. That's like instinctual. The reason you want to have sex, the reason you have a sex drive is primarily to procreate. 100%. 100%. So we have this agenda taking place. And so the main reason I'm bringing this up regarding the depopulation is because it's all by choice. It's all by choice. Unless you have a procreation license, there's no purpose, only what you make. I'm not a relativist. I don't believe that. I do think that there is a purpose to life. Not all of us want to act primitive like you, bro. It's just called acting natural. I mean, it's very natural to want to procreate. It's not primitive. So, this agenda of depopulation is nothing to be concerned about because it is all your choice. As we have these people in the chat, they apparently are against or are not big fans of procreation. So they are falling right into the depopulation agenda because they don't want to continue their bloodline, their germline, which is insane to me. But hey, if that's what you want to do, you can do that. It's totally fine. You know, it just makes it easier for people like me and my family to take over the world and have a bunch of opportunity here. And people like me, right? Like the world is for those who has children, who prepare for tomorrow, who it just is. It just is. So this whole depopulation agenda for, the elite, what we see here with Canada allowing euthanasia for people in poor health, this is something that takes place by choice. It is nothing really to be concerned about or fearful of because you have to choose to do it. And we just have this death culture. We have a death culture. And it's getting really, really bad, actually. So it's going beyond, people just wanting to commit suicide because they, as one of the people in here said, that the purpose is what you make of it, which is a totally nihilistic worldview. Make sure you don't make people sick with negative energy. So, it's, let's see here. So there's obviously a lot of issues in the world, especially when it comes to these particular things regarding a lack of ambition to live, right? So there should always be, there's so much to live for, but what we're seeing right now is a generation full of wrath. That's a huge issue. We're seeing a generation full of wrath. We're seeing a generation that is lost because there's no guidance, because our family roots, the elders have been, you're right, both political groups have death culture, 100%. 100%. We live in a death culture society, 100%. The right wing wants to send people to war all the freaking time. I don't agree with that. The left wing wants you to be able to kill babies. Don't allow it that. Don't agree with that. So, getting back to what we were saying, there is a lot to live for, and a lot of people are lacking that drive to live, and it's because we have this nihilistic society. Let's take a moment to honor our school kids that give their lives to protect our right to bear arms. Got a bunch of trolls in the comments today. Now, we just have a huge issue here. And one of the big things that I foresee happening, it's actually not my prediction, but I do agree with this prediction, is there will be a huge wave of wrath that consumes a lot of people. And they are going to be taking it out on specific groups. And I think we're seeing the beginnings of that. Some may say it's a race war, which may potentially happen. There's definitely some concerns about that. Christianity is an end time cult who believes nothing here matters. That's not true. I'm not sure how familiar you are with Christianity, but that's 100% not true. What do you think of the massive decline in childbirth? Well, I think it has to do with our society being so promiscuous and being essentially a death cult. We have no desire to continue in the future. And so I think that's a huge role. Birth control has messed people up. What else? Birth control messes people up. And then you also have the fact that jabs contribute to a lot of issues. And you have this idea that you need to have money to have children. Total nonsense. Kids are so effing cheap. No, so we're not going to have a theological discussion here, although I do have a lot to cover on theology. This is one of my main areas of focus, but let's see here. Let's see if I can just answer this really quick. Really, you can earn your way into heaven without faith? Well, I don't really know how one makes it to heaven. I'm not God. I think it's very arrogant to say one knows how to make it to heaven. Jabs are inoculations of poison into the bloodstream. I do believe people have no desire to continue. People don't want children. 100%. That's 100% false. If you look at tribal cultures, look into Western Price studied tribal cultures. They're living much longer than we are. Humans have an average life expectancy in nature of 120 to 150 years old. Only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ. That is a school of thought. That is a school of theology. So I don't know how one makes it to heaven, but I do know that there is good and evil, and I do know that following the truth, wherever that leads you, brings you closer to the good and further away from the evil. Where are you pulling that number from? Western Price, Augenis Vonderplanitz, Severidge, Tom Barnett. These are all people who have studied this extensively and have a lot of studies on this. And you can do your own research on it. You can do your whole research on it. I've talked about this a lot. Like, human beings have lived a long time without Western medicine, and we're healthier for it. This is the only way. We will see one day. We will see one day. I do agree with that. We will see one day. We will all see one day what is true and what is not true. So, getting back, no, they weren't. Yes, they were. I mean, you can just go back and look at ancient Rome. The elites were at least living how long we are currently living in Western society, and those that lived in rural areas were living longer, if not equivalent to what we are living currently. This is 100% provable. You genuinely believe humans used to live? They still do. And I'm not saying before medicine. Nobody ever said before medicine. I said Western medicine. There's always been medicine. Medicine isn't bad. Nobody's making the claim that medicine doesn't help life, doesn't help you live longer. Nobody made that claim. But yes, people still do in primitive cultures all the time. Do you know what percentage of people used to die prior to 18 before jabs? No, I don't. I don't buy much of the research when it comes to jabs because they are straight up poison and toxins, and they are unnecessary. You just have to ignore that 50% died prior to 30. There's no way to prove that either. You have to understand that these are all belief systems. There's a lot that we cannot prove. 100%. There's a lot that we cannot prove. And when it comes to Western medicine, it's been hijacked. So he believes his data, but not the other. No, that's not. I do believe what I am saying to be true because you just look at firsthand documents of how people used to live, and you look at firsthand documents of people that are living without Western medicine, and it's very obvious. But then you also have to consider the fact that our medical industry has been hijacked. It's been hijacked. Yes, there is. We can look at a consensus from every 10 years. How accurate is that consensus, though? We know that we have a very corrupt system. And so, right now, pretty much anything that is coming out in the mainstream should be viewed with skepticism if you're a prudent individual. So, we have this death culture, and one of the biggest things here, so I won't even show this video I was going to show. It's not necessary, but there is a lot of tension heating up between particular groups of people. One of the groups in particular are those, I don't know really what I can say on this. So it was corrupt in the 1800s that backs my 50% claim. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. 100%. 100%. And I will be consistent in saying that data has probably been corrupted almost forever. So this is why I say these are belief systems. So the only data we can use, no, once again, I'm saying these are belief systems. I'm saying that we cannot know anything with 100% certainty because we did not witness it ourselves. And so it makes it very hard to know. But there are there's footage of individuals that are living in tribes that claim to be 150 plus years old, and there's a lot of them. So this is a faith-based program. No, I would not say this is a religious faith-based program. I am saying life in and of itself in the world that we live in, a lot of it is built on belief. A lot of it is built on belief. There are truths in the world. I'm not a relativist, but a lot of what we're seeing, especially when we're talking about these particular topics, a lot of them are built on belief. Some people argue that you can find a study to disprove every other study that goes against it. But there definitely are truths. And so I do believe that humans are healthier in general without Western medicine. That makes sense to me because it hasn't been around forever. And there's a lot of data to suggest life expectancy actually hasn't improved that much in rural areas. If you just want to go with the conventional school of thought, this is conventional. It hasn't really proved that much in rural areas where the conventional school of thought comes into play, and they say that it has improved life expectancy is in urban areas. And the main reason that they say it has improved life expectancy in urban areas is because of sanitation. But then we had sanitation back with the Romans as well. So, like, I don't know. Like, it's very interesting. History is very interesting. But yeah, I am very dubious of Western medicine. There's a lot of issues that were not known back in the day until we started introducing some of the things that we've introduced in Western medicine. So very skeptical of it. But yeah, so we have this death culture that we're currently living in, and we idolize those who are against us, and we don't even see it. And, one of the leading causes of death in the Western world, and specific in the United States, is the medical profession. The medical profession is one of the leading causes of death for misdiagnosis, improperly done surgeries, poor care, a lot of things. And you can blame a lot of that on insurance companies. You can blame a lot of that on the government. You can blame a lot of that on pharmaceutical companies. You can blame a lot of that on the overhaul of the medical system by the Rockefellers. So it's a multifaceted issue, which is why I do not trust the Western medicine. Now, I do think that surgeries overall are good. I think that hospitals in Western medicine are excellent at treating extreme cases. and are really good with surgeries. I know I just said that improperly done surgeries cause a lot of death, but overall, I've had some surgeries done. I seem to be okay. So I think surgeries are good. Extreme cases of Western medicine are good. But a lot of the nonsense from Western medicine, such as the medicine specifically, is not good. It's not good at all. So, yeah. And they, discourage you from having children. They dissuade women from having children. My wife and I, we've now heard a bunch of stories since we're going through a midwife regarding doctors intentionally damaging women's vaginas to prevent them from having children, to prevent them from giving vaginal births. It's quite disturbing what you find goes on in these circles. And yet not nobody, but a lot of people are blind to it and will defend it. And so hopefully here we can shed some light on those particular issues. I mean, it's really disgusting what we've been through in the Western medicine, my family specifically. I've shared stories on this numerous times. You can go back and look at old episodes if you're really curious on it. But yeah, so my whole point, before we got derailed here, I originally was covering the article regarding euthanasia amongst poor people being legalized in Canada, and pretty much anybody who has a poor standard of life, they can commit suicide if they would like to, assisted suicide. And the main point of bringing that article up was the simple fact that depopulation is something that you're doing by choice, right? So if we look at the diets are causing us to die sooner. There's been reports coming out that a lot of autoimmune diseases are a result of the American diet. This is becoming mainstream, but this has been known for quite some time amongst alternative doctors. For instance, that potatoes and other vegetables cause autoimmune diseases. Carbs and sugars are the main culprit for heart diseases. So a lot of this stuff has been known or alleged to be known for quite some time, but have not really been talked about until recently. So a lot of the depopulation agenda is going to come from people who want to abort their children, people who are giving their children jabs, and people who eventually want to be able to kill themselves because they do not want to live anymore. So we just have a very, very bad society in which we're living in. No morals, no principles. It's do as thou wilt. So yeah, the main takeaway with that is that this depopulation agenda overall is a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. You don't have to be fearful of it. You don't have to be concerned about anybody coming to your door trying to force you to do anything that you don't want to do. We have a consent-based system. All right. Now, some other things that I wanted to cover for today is this right here. There's this article. I'm actually going to show the blog post that I originally saw it on. But there's an article from RT as well on this particular issue. So this is actually a snippet from the article. So right here, it says, unless Russia is quickly defeated in Ukraine. So this has to do with George Soros, Russia, and globalization. So unless Russia is quickly defeated in Ukraine, the collective West won't be able to address climate change in time to save civilization. Billionaire financier George Soros told the World Economic Forum in Davos on Tuesday. He also called Russia and China the greatest threat to his concept, open society, which those of you who are unfamiliar with open society, 100% agree with Soros? Cool. Those of you who are unaware of what open society is, it is his foundation to basically do away with borders and have a globalized community, doing away with nations and making one global government That is essentially the goal. They're very open about this now. A gentleman in India sued his parents for bringing him in the world. Interesting. So they sued George Soros's parents for bringing him into this world. That's kind of funny. So yeah, I think that this is actually a really good thing that he mentioned this, because it sheds light on the fact that if Russia and China are being targeted in this fashion by somebody who wants to do away with sovereign nations, then Russia and China are doing something right. Unpopular opinion, I know, but Russia and China are doing something right if George Soros is saying that they're the greatest threat to an open society. I tend to agree. I mean, this is why I've said several times, like, why China wants to create their own blockchain and why they've been sort of hesitant on cryptocurrency is because they want to retain their sovereignty. And it will be hard to retain their sovereignty if they don't own the currency. Russia kind of did the same thing. They may be going on China's payment system since they're backed out of SWIFT. A lot of other things going on in Russia as well. I mean, they just back their currency by gold and their commodities. So, it's I think that I really think that China and Russia are doing something right if they have enemies like George Soros. Lives meant free in your hollow mind. I don't think about George Soros very often, to be honest with you. I don't think about him at all. I just wanted to talk about this particular instance because it is telling in regards to Russia and China and what they are doing. And I think that they are successfully keeping off the empire that has never died, and that it's a spiritual warfare, in my opinion, is what really takes place here. And so I think Russia and China are doing a good job at preventing this. Russia isn't the superpower they pretend to be. That's what you think. I mean, they're straight up just doing what they want to do in Ukraine. The U.S. would lose war. I think they would lose a war to Russia. I think that Russia is a lot stronger than the U.S. right now. People need to wake the F up. They're trying to enslave us 100%. And Russia and China, I think, are working against that. That doesn't mean that they don't have their own problems. For sure, they have their own problems. But I will say that, for instance, the speech laws in China are definitely better than the speech laws than they are in America. The reason I say that is because at least there is no ambiguity as to what you can and can't say in China. Right? But there's so much ambiguity in what you can and can't say in America. It's to determine whether you're fired, determine whether you're canceled, whether you're censored, whether you're banned. It changes from day to day. So a lot of these countries have, I think, better qualities of law, spot on. But if we leave it to these, we'll be in concentration camps. I don't believe that. I think that's a choice. I think that's 100% a choice. You won't be in a concentration camp. I don't think so. Everything has to be contractual. That's the way the system works. It's a consensus-based system. They can't force you to do anything. You have to agree to do it. That's the way the world works. And if you don't agree to it, then you have to build other avenues. You have to build other structures to avoid that path. But how far do you think it'll go? As far as we allow it to go. Because ultimately, the government can only do what the people allow it to do. Because a government is nothing but the collective morals of a society. What happens when they show up and take our they won't do that. Most people are unaware of the fact that in the Soviet Union, you were allowed to have private property. 100% factual. You could have your own farm. during the Soviet Union, during Stalin. 100%. It's all contractual. I'm in Australia. Yeah, there's a lot of good people in Australia. I've interviewed quite a few people in Australia who are working very hard to preserve freedom there. I would look up Tom Barnett and Renat Strahlhofer. Very good sources of information, and they are working very, very hard. I have 200-acre property, but some crazy is happening. That's awesome that you have 200 acres of property. What crazy stuff is happening? What crazy stuff is happening where you are? I'm interested to hear. Yeah, I know of Tom. Tom Barnett's the man. I've interviewed him 2 times. Really good guy. Taught me a lot of this stuff regarding the world being contractual and a lot of this having to do with our will, a lot of this being a belief system. Opened up my eyes quite a bit, but I'm interested to hear what's happening over there that has you concerned. And in the meantime, while you're hopefully responding to that, I want to cover something else here that I thought was pretty comical. The new biosecurity laws. What new biosecurity laws? Is that in regards to the vid? Like, are you having to have like some sort of ID or passport or digital ID to do stuff? Like in Iran, they have a where we won't be allowed to grow our crops. Interesting. I would like to know more about that. So, biosecurity laws, you won't be able to grow your own crops. Why won't you be able to grow your own crops? And is that only for specific kind of farms? It'll all be government control and they're buying back farms. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. I know there's a huge movement right now where a lot of very wealthy people in the U.S. are buying up farms. All crops. Well, the good news, it's actually God's land. Take back the land, patents, seals to deal to remove taxes. Interesting. I mean, it is God's land. It is nature, right? Like if you're agnostic or you want to keep it agnostic, it is. Nobody owns the land. Nobody owns the land. The land is its own. But yeah, so I mean, the good thing about that is, well, I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing, but you don't really need crops to survive. You just need animal products. So if they're not going to take away livestock, that's one way that you can circumvent it. Other ways is get involved on a local level, right? Be heard on a political local level. I don't really know what the zoning laws are there. I don't really know how you would go about that, but I would maybe try to combat it from a local perspective. Get your local politicians involved. We got a comment here. It says, bringing blessings from Parma, Ohio, bro. Conrad's gang for life. There we go. Don't work there anymore, by the way. Don't work there anymore. That's a long story. Not really, but it's a funny story. I'm all about freedom and heart connections, forgiveness and love. Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know as far as what's going on there, like what to tell you. But I do know a lot of this stuff is contractual. Was Jesus present at the elementary school? And I don't know. I mean, people say that he's in the soul, but I don't know. I mean, Jesus isn't God, but I feel we may need to live in the bush for a while whilst this transfer happens. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother option, is starting your own little communities and defending your land, protecting your land. That's an option. I don't encourage violence, but it's definitely an option as far as setting up your own little commune, if you will. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, living next to people that you like is really good. Jesus isn't God, okay? Yeah, I don't think Jesus is God. I think Jesus was a man who had a connection to God. And Jesus, in my opinion, his purpose was to show man how they too can be connected to the source. That's what I think Jesus did. And I don't think Jesus is God. Jesus isn't God. No, I do not think Jesus is God. I never really bought that argument. It always confused me. I mean, like, for instance, how do you pray to yourself? Like, was Jesus praying to himself when he was praying to God? Doesn't make very much sense. Doesn't make very much sense at all. And why did Jesus always, say, "Don't thank me, thank your Father"? Like, it's your faith in the Father. But there is no God. I would say that there is. I think it's very, very provable that there is. Energy can't be created or destroyed. No, there's three individual persons, but one God. No, I think that there is a Trinity in some way, but not the way that Christianity portrays there to be a Trinity. I think that's nonsense. Because when you start going down that path, you then no longer have monotheism, you have polytheism. Because if Jesus is God and the Holy Spirit is God and then God is God, well, then logically there are three gods. Just doesn't make any sense. It's not biblical. Nowhere in the Bible does it say there's a Trinity. Jesus, he has said, hey, matter can't be created or destroyed. You are correct. So how does it exist? Where did it come from? Then it's always existed. I'll say whatever to hold a peace. So if matter can't be created or destroyed, it always existed and always will exist. So the building blocks of life, okay, but that's what you're referring to, and it is not biblical that there are three persons, one God, and they're all, it's just not. It's described as the Godhead. Yeah, I don't agree with the Godhead. I don't think it's biblical. It's not. It's a theology. This has been debated amongst theologians for years and years and years. Longer than the Protestant church has been around, this specific theological point has been debated. So I think that the concept of a Trinity makes sense in that there's a man and a woman. A man and a woman can make a child. There's a Trinity. That's a beautiful Trinity. But to have man, Jesus, Holy Spirit, it just doesn't make sense. It's spelled out clearly in scriptures. You're putting yourself above the Bible. Wrong. I bet you I've read the Bible more than you. Like, I can't even, dude. No, it's not written out in the Bible. Jesus says, you can be like me in the Father. We are one. You can be one with the Father. So if anybody can be one with the Father per Jesus, where does your Trinity, like the Trinity is the connection between your spirit, your body, and God. That's the Trinity. Better explains it. Yeah. Once science is understood, there are no arguments. I mean, opinion itself, if just a form of control of any religion, kills non-believers, it cannot be a true religion that preaches the 10 Commandments before destroys the whole concept. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I mean, if God created the universe, you think he'd be able to communicate his word without ambiguity. And I think he does. And I think religions in man makes it ambiguous. You can tell there's a natural order that is not ambiguous. There is true and there is false. There is binary in the world. There is no ambiguity in binary. The sun comes up every morning. The moon comes up every evening. There's no ambiguity in that. Those are the natural laws. there are such things as, I believe, it's not even that I believe. You do good and you can do bad in the world. And I think these things are very understood. Clearly, he doesn't. There shouldn't be any need for debate on any word. The debate is how people interpret these things. Man is what muddies it up. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Jesus says, I am the Alpha and Omega. Yes, yes, but he also says you can be one with the Father. And so if you can be one with the Father, and also in Genesis it says you are made in the image of God. Therefore, if I see you, I've seen the Father. Use logic. Don't get caught up in these stupid dogmas. If I'm made in the image of God, you are then looking at God. The same way Jesus has said it, I can say it as well. It would be illogical and inconsistent if I couldn't say that. Yes, the world did begin with you, and it did begin with me, and it will end with me and you. Why? Because we only experience the world through our bodies. There's no way to experience the world outside of this. If he can't communicate his word, not knowing people would confuse it, he can't be all-knowing. You're using insane arguments. Are you a Jehovah's Witness? No, I am not a Jehovah's Witness. If anything, I lean towards the Orthodox view of Christianity. And what do you mean? Like, nobody even said that he uses words. No. The issue comes from the interpretation. And we don't have the full picture as to what's going on. So we take a lot of guesses. Things get misunderstood. But there definitely is a true, there definitely is beautiful, and there definitely is good. And those three things, I believe, are where you can find God. The true, the beautiful, and the good. There are natural laws. There is natural order. He's either all-knowing or not. There should be you're making no sense. You aren't a Christian. Why think of yourself as a Christian if you deny Jesus as the Lord? Well, there's a difference. And I never claimed to be Christian. I said if there is any school of thought, I would go with the Orthodox. Although I would consider myself mostly Christian. But Jesus can be the Lord, but not be God. You do understand that, right? Like my wife, if we were living in ancient times, and if I had people working for me, they would call me my Lord. They would call me my Lord. Just because you're called the Lord doesn't mean you are God. That's in the Bible as well. And also, getting back to this, he's either all-knowing or not. There should be zero interpretation. This has nothing to do with him being all-knowing. It's meant to be his word, so it is either his word or it is. Nobody's saying the Bible is God's word. Nobody's making that argument. It makes no sense what you're commenting here because you're obviously not listening to what I'm saying. And then also, I don't know that God is all-knowing. I never made that claim. As far as what do I think about sun worshiping? That's an interesting question. I think it's very natural to want to worship the sun because it brings life. I'm not saying that I encourage sun worshiping, but I do think it is a natural act, and I do think that the sun in some way is divine. Plenty of Christians say it's his word, but did I say it's his word? I don't care what other Christians say. Have I made that comment? No, I haven't. So it just makes no sense why you keep repeating what you're repeating. For those of you on YouTube and everywhere else, this is what I'm getting from TikTok. So yeah, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. No one comes to the Father except through Christ. And what is Christ? Christ is the Messiah. There have been many Christ. No. You don't have to believe the Bible is the word of God to be a Christian. You don't have to believe that the only way to get to heaven is through Jesus Christ to be a Christian. Like, these things are all nonsense. Like, there's so many different theologies in Christianity. It is insane. And Jesus, I do think, is the truth. And I do believe he is the light. I believe that he paved a path for man to walk that will allow them to get closer and become one with God, as he said we could become. So you don't have to be Christian to get to heaven. Cool. I don't think so. I don't think so. But I am not God. I am not God. God the Father says he is a jealous God. If he's a jealous God, how then would Jesus be the way? That makes no sense. God is saying, don't worship anybody but me. He also said, don't worship graven images. Jesus would be an image of God as a man, and you worship Jesus. Jesus is not meant to be worshiped. He is meant to be followed. Jesus said that you can do better things than him. Fact, in the Bible, it says, you can do better things than Jesus. Sounds very insecure, almost as if a human wrote. That's another thing, too. That's another thing. And why did Jesus say, you can go cast out demons, you can walk on water, you can give people bread, you can raise people from the dead? He trained people to raise others from the dead. Come on. So what about the 399,000? I don't know what you're talking about. Jesus is alive according to the Bible, not a graven image. He is an image of God. Okay? Just like you are an image of God. You don't worship any image of God. That is considered blasphemy. What? I don't know what you're saying what to. I don't know what this person's talking about. If you can clarify that, ACS 8080. So this has become a lot different than what I expected. You know, we had some interesting articles to cover today. It started off kind of heated. We had some people in the chat that were very antagonistic. That's okay though. There are at least 4,000 deities. Do you believe in them or not? Deities, sorry. I don't know where you're coming up with that number. And I do believe that there's a creator of the creation. I do believe that there's a spiritual element of the world. So, yeah, I believe there's other entities. Yeah. But as far as, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's a very interesting question. You know, I've asked the question, can the devil manipulate reality? Since he can't create reality, can he cause people to hallucinate and then, create false realities? Those are interesting things to think about. I think. So, yeah, it's been a very interesting show today. A lot of things were covered that weren't really supposed to be covered, but hey, it is what it is. You know, I want to make this fun and engaging for everybody. So yeah, like I said at the beginning of the show, a little antagonistic coming on, getting on me because I apparently I said some wrong information regarding the shooter. Why does there need to be a devil character? I think you've made a God of your own, making not what is in the scripture. Did I not just quote scripture to you? I can quote scripture to you probably better than you can quote it to me. Like, okay, show your way out. That's fine. I'm not making my own God. I mean, we don't even know what God is. And yeah, I mean, literally, Jesus says that you can do better things than him. So if Jesus is God, why would God say that you can do better things than God? Does that make any sense? It doesn't. It doesn't. Why does there need to be a devil character? Polarity? I mean, what do you mean? I mean, like, it's, God in the Bible, it says that God created evil. In Isaiah, it says God created evil. And I think that you need to have it in order to have free will. You need to have multiple paths in order to have free will. So I think that's a very simple answer to your question. In order to have free will, you would need to have that. You need to have the contrast. You need to have options. And I believe that those options exist from that. Who cares about scriptures? Every religion has scriptures, and no deities have been demonstrated. Okay, fair point. I did mention scriptures. So even without scriptures, I've already answered your question for free will. The Bible is God-inspired word, an infallible rule of faith, and a conduct for humanity. I do think that it is sort of a guide for humanity, but I think a lot of other religious texts serve as guides as well. I believe that there is a hierarchy to that, like not once in history ever. Arguably, you see God every day. Every day. You may not recognize it as such, but you see the creator of its creation every day by being alive and looking at other things that are alive. Okay, that's cool. There's a natural order. There's life. Life comes from somewhere. Matter comes from somewhere. So the Bible is God-inspired word. I think that people were inspired to write these texts, but I think over the years they become very manipulative. Complexity does not equal creator. No, order. Order. I'm not arguing for complexity. I'm saying order. There is a natural order. And if matter can't be created or destroyed, it had to exist forever. And then what was the catalyst for that matter putting things in order? So yeah, people were definitely inspired to write the Bible, but over the years, it has been tainted. That is my opinion. Why do people even listen to George Soros? What role does he play? He's a very wealthy man. Very wealthy man who has foundations that are set up to destroy sovereign nations. He's middle management at best, a part of this what I would say evil pyramid. So, yeah, I mean, people listen to it because he has a lot of influence and he's caused a lot of things to happen. He's caused currencies to collapse and become very wealthy from it. There's as much chaos as order. You need to have chaos in order for there to be order. But the fact that there's order means that there has to be something putting it in order. Like there has to be something enforcing rules in order for there to be order. You can't have creativity and free will without chaos. Chaos is a necessary component. I believe. So, anyways, guys, I'm wealthy like him, but they don't listen to me. Well, good for you that you're wealthy and maybe put your money to work for you in different ways. So it's arbitrary then. No, because there's objectively order. And so that order has to come from somewhere. right? And in order for there to be free will, there has to be options. Charities. Yeah, you can do charities. You can start your own foundations, that kind of stuff. So if there has to be options, some of those options have to allow for chaos. And out of that chaos, I mean, in pretty much every religious text, it does say the world was chaotic before God came and gave it order. No, no, it's not. Like, there has to be, or there is order. We have to agree that there's order. There's order going on right now. Your internet's working properly. Your electricity's working properly. It is true. The father of Ukrainian actor, he didn't give it much order then. He did. 100%. The sun comes up every morning. The moon comes up every evening. There's 4 seasons in a year. You pick something up and you drop and you let it go. It falls on the ground. If I mean, it just continues. Like, there's just basic rules to this. Basic rules to this. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, I got a little heated there in the beginning. It was one hell of a start to the show. So yeah, I want to reiterate to everybody, I do want to share what we do know. We do want to share the facts, but there are definitely some things we don't know. And if we don't know it, we will admit that we don't know it. If you know that we're presenting incorrect information, let us know. But be respectful in doing so. You don't have to be like that guy at the beginning of the show. These are rules discovered by scientists, not religion. And the scientist who discovered them just happened to be religious. I mean, they just happen to believe in a natural order. They just happen to believe in a God. I don't know what you're talking about. About what? Maybe what I was discussing earlier. So yeah, in the beginning of the show, there was some antagonistic people that came on and were being very disrespectful in their approach and trying to correct me, which I thought was very inappropriate. Yes, just jumped in. Yeah, so I thought that they were being very inappropriate and disrespectful. I made a comment about the shooter in Texas, saying that there's some images going around that make him look identical to the mass shooter. There was a transgender pictures going on, cross-dressing photos, and I said that we know that he's transgender. Apparently, he's not. Apparently, information had been released today before I discovered it. And so they got on the show saying that I was spewing misinformation and just started really, really, really being rude, even after I told them that they were right and thank you. And then I was like, hey, what other media platform do you know will allow somebody to come on their show and have them be as rude as you were and then still admit that they were wrong if you're right? And he said, none. And I was like, well, we're the first, aren't we? Because our goal here is not to lie to anybody, not to mislead anybody. We want to be able to talk about ideas. We want to be able to speculate on certain events. We want to be able to theorize and work through things. Because I don't feel, yeah, I know. This is, yeah, I know. But for some entertainment purposes, you have to, right? But anyway, but our goal here is not to mislead anybody. We do want to provide factual information, but I had stated yesterday that this event in particular is still developing and we have to wait a couple days. We have to wait 3 days for the narrative to be built. So I was just sort of reiterating some of the stuff I had said yesterday. Anyway, it was, it's okay. It's all good. So, our goal here is to just provide good information, be objective, tell the truth. It is sad what happened. It is sad what happened. 100%. So, we want to make sure that we're sharing the truth. We want to make sure that if we're wrong, we may be wrong, but we're not lying to you. That is not our goal at all. We do not want to mislead. We do not want to lie. But we do want to try to cover some things that other people aren't covering. And we want to talk about certain hard topics that we may get wrong sometime. And that's okay. We got one last comment here, right here on YouTube. It says, you won't find the word Trinity in the Bible anywhere. Father, Son, Holy Ghost are not named, but titles to the one name. Jesus said, I come in my Father's name. So what's the Father's name? Jesus. But Jesus says, you can be one with the Father. He wants you to be one with the Father like he's one with the Father. So what does that mean? What does that mean? And what does it mean that Jesus said, you can do better things than me? Jesus says that you can do better things than me. So if Jesus is God, how can you do better things? Then he's saying, so if Jesus said, you can do better things than me, and he's saying that I am God, well, then he is saying, you can do better things than God. Doesn't make sense. I safe to blame video game programming. I think that has a role in it. Apparently he was bullied. Obviously he was mentally ill. Yeah, I do think that video games play a role. I know some people like to debate that issue, but I do think that video games play a role, 100%. Maybe some sort of drugs. Pornography, I believe, plays a role in some degree. So yeah, there's a lot of different factors. What verse did Jesus say that without it, meaning through him and through our faith in him? He always said to have faith, many factors, 100%. Have faith in the Father, not him. He never said have faith in me. He said have faith in the Father. And once again, I'm going to ask you the same question again. If Jesus said we can do better things than him, and Jesus is God, that means we can do better things than God. Does that make any sense? I don't think so. But yeah, many factors to it. And so that's really what we're just trying to cover here, like all the different factors, all the different angles, all the different information that's being disseminated through forums, through news articles. It's good to try and combine that information and try to find what the best information is. I think there's more to that parable. Okay, I mean, we can. All right, just to keep it going a little bit, let's look it up right now. And it isn't a parable, by the way. It is not a parable. Let's see. You can do better than me, Jesus. Let's see. All right. Truly, truly, I say to you, let's see, where's it at? I think this is it right here. All right. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he will do also, and greater works than these he will do, because I go to the Father. So yeah, maybe Jesus is talking about humankind as a whole. That's what I think, because if you look up Son of Man, he refers to himself as Son of Man. I think Son of Man in Hebrew means humanity. It means human. So I think that is what Jesus is referring to. That's my personal belief. But anyways, guys, I've been on here for an hour and a half. So this is the hour and a half honest hour with Luis Acevedo. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so at my Cash App. It is Cash App $ Luis Acevedo 27. That's LuisAcevedo 27. All right, guys. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, pass this along to everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. Went many different directions today. Thank you guys for sticking with it. And we will be back tomorrow. Much love. Peace.